You know, my dad phoned last night and he asked me, did you make it to Magic cards? It's kind of funny, he knows me so well, even after all these years, on Friday nights to ask, did I make it to Friday Night Magic? Well, unfortunately I didn't. I had to work late. I hope you guys made it over to your Friday night F&M. It's not such a big deal because I got to prepare to do the show and I've got everything that I need. I've seen the top 10. I've seen the charts. So let's get right to it. Good morning, everybody. This is Brody at AlphonsoInvestments, here for the most compelling analysis on the reserve list and the bottom 10 cards that no one cares about. For all of those of you tuning in, especially all the Freetreons, Smash Jackson, Garen Jotter, Dusty Cully, Murray Cooper, Coin Pomeroy, Tyler Friesen, Tyler Harrison, Kyle Mears, and a shout out to the MTG Moxman. He's on the other side of the nation, covering a completely different time zone. And to everybody you tuning in, like Savannah Lion over across the pond, Goeiemorgen, Netherlands. I got the analysis here for you folks. I'm pretty excited today because we do get to talk about some pretty exciting mechanics. We get to talk about the Enrage mechanic, landfall, phasing again, and we get to talk about Dockside Extortionist. I owe you folks an apology. I misspoke on phasing, and I wanted to say that here now before it finds its way into the comments section. A little while ago, I made a comment on ETBs with phasing in our last video, and I was wrong about that. Looking at this week's top 10, Brody reminded himself just how phasing works. So I got to correct myself on that one today, folks. But yeah, we've got a lot to talk about, and I really want to do this video for you folks today. So let's get right into the honorable mention for this week. Picking up right where we left off with this card, Tanawa. Tanawa rolls in its sleep, and the land is awash with the waves. No one cares about this card. Coming in at number 10 on our list, Eye of Singularity. This is a card from Visions. And if you want to talk about Dockside Extortionist, like I mentioned a moment earlier, there's a card right here that just wrecks Dockside Extortionist. Eye of Singularity is $4.23 or €2.06. It's an enchantment from Visions. It says, when Eye of Singularity comes into play, bury all permanents with the same name except basic lands. When any permanent other than basic land comes into play, bury any permanent already in play with the same name. So, Smothering Tithe decks that try to run the race to get treasure, this just wrecks those cards. And Dockside Extortionist costs you about $50. Well, here's a card for about $4.50 that's just going to wreck that card, Dockside Extortionist. Not let anybody get any extra value for their treasure tokens, and it's only $4.50. So if you don't have a copy of Dockside Extortionist, it also works with Echo Chamber. Echo Chamber, 4-mana artifact, pay 4 and tap it. Your opponent chooses target creature he or she controls, and you put a copy of that onto play, treat it as a copy of that creature, and though it is just summoned. So that basically removes your opponent's creature from play because you're making a copy of it. You get a copy for a turn, it gains haste, and then it goes away, so you can go around the board and start picking off your opponent's creatures one at a time using Echo Chamber. And it's way down at the bottom of the reserve list where no one cares about it, but we do, so we're buying it. Bringing us to the next card on our list, we're going to notice a bit of a trend here this week. Flooded Shoreline. Here's a card from Visions. It's 2 blue. Cost you $3.49 to get this into your collection, or €2.69. For 2 blue, you can return 2 islands you control to the owner's hand and return target creature to owner's hand. Now, this was probably designed to just bounce creatures off the battlefield that were posing threats, but it does work well with some other cards, like this card, Floodgate. Flooded Shoreline works with Floodgate. It's a 0/5 wall. It says, if it gains flying bury it. And if Floodgate leaves play, it deals each non-blue creature without flying 1 damage for each 2 islands you control. So you use the so you can use the flooded shoreline to bounce the Floodgate and start knocking off creatures. The flooded shoreline, I might add, also works really well with the landfall mechanic. If you are able to pick up and put lands back onto the battlefield, like you're playing Moonfolk or something like that. This card is awesome, but it's way down on the bottom of the reserve list where no one cares about flooded shoreline, but we do, so we're buying it. Which brings us to the next card on our list, number 8. You might notice a trend here, Floodwater Dam. A lot of flooded cards here today. We seem to be flooded with cards at the bottom end of the reserve list that no one cares about. Let's read the card. This is like a reverse candelabra. It costs 3 mana. And it's cost you $2.22 to get a copy of this into your collection. Or €2 and 2 euro cent. Floodwater Dams from Alliances, like I said earlier, it's like a reverse candelabra. You pay X twice in one, tap it, and tap X target lands. It's important to note that this doesn't have to be all lands controlled by one single player. You can spread it out. So if you have the mana to pump into this, you can essentially tap down any number of lands among any number of opponents on the battlefield. But what cards does it work well with? Well, we like dwarves. Check out this guy, Dwarven Miner. And check out the beard on him. Dwarven Miner, he costs 1 red and 1 to tap him and put a mining counter on target land. And if that land becomes tapped, destroy it at end of turn. So if your opponent doesn't want to tap the lands that you put counters on them, you can help them out with the Floodwater Dam. And Floodwater Dam's way down at the bottom of the reserve list where no one cares about it, so we're buying it. Which brings us to the next card on our list, General Jarkeld. For $1.65, this legendary creature from Ice Age will cost you €1.71 to get it into your collection. General Jarkeld costs 1 white and 3. He's a 1/2. He says, tap to switch the blocking creatures of 2 target attacking creatures. All defense must be legal. Use this ability only during combat, after defense is chosen, and before damage is dealt. Well, here's a politics card for all you 4-player commander lovers out there. This is straight up a politics card. General Jarkeld not only can manipulate the creatures coming your way, it can manipulate the creatures swinging from across the board at either one of your opponents. Could you imagine the amount of fun you could have with this card? It looks like a great card on the bottom of the reserve list. No one cares about General Jarkeld, so we're buying it. And that brings us to the next card on our list. Number 6 is this guy, Hivis of the Scale from Mirage. For $2 or €1.56 you can get a copy of Hivis of the Scale in your collection. He's a legend. He's a 3/4 from the Mirage block, so he's got a big enough butt to withstand a lightning bolt, but we like the text on him. You may choose not to untap Hivis of the Scale during your untap phase. Tap, gain control of target dragon. What? Hivis becomes untapped, you lose control of Hivis, you lose control of that dragon. So this guy just straight up steals dragons. He can talk them into coming onto your side of the battlefield. This card's awesome. For 5 mana, this 3/4 from Mirage, why is it so cheap at a mere $2? We can put a copy of Hivis of the Scale into our collection. And with the printing of more amazing dragons that have been coming out in recent sets, I don't see why we can't have a lot of fun playing this card. So we're buying it. Which brings us to the next card on our list. And I'm excited to bring you folks this card because it was arguably the worst card in Magic the Gathering. It was touted as the absolute worst card in the game. But seeing this card here now today, folks, lets me talk a little bit about dinosaurs and the Enrage mechanic, because Sorrow's Path cost you $15.90 to get it into your collection, or €21.70. It's a land from the dark that says, tap it to exchange 2 of opponent's blocking creatures. This exchange may not cause an illegal block. So that's almost similar to the General Jarkeld ability that we discussed a little earlier, where we get to reorder blockers. But that's not the part of the card that I'm most interested in. It's the second part. It says, Sorrow's Path deals 2 damage to you and 2 damage to each creature you control whenever it's tapped. And it doesn't have to be tapped for its first ability. So when you send dinos down the Sorrow's Path, they get enraged. If you play this with a copy of Polyraptor or the Suncrown Hunters or any of the Trapjaw Raptors, Cacophodon, or the dinosaurs that whenever they deal damage you get special abilities, this card seems awesome and it seems like it gets you exactly where you want to be. So we no longer think this is the worst card in the game, and we're buying it. Which brings us to the next card on our list, the card with phasing. Katabatic Winds from Visions. This card will cost you $2.79 to get it into your collection, or €2, 8 euro cent. For 1 green and 2, this enchantment has phasing, meaning it's only there each and every other turn. Creatures with flying cannot attack, block, or use any ability that includes tap in the activation cost. Wind will win whatever we wish. If you guys have ever played against Brody in casual F&M draft, you'll notice a trend. Weak to flyers. That's all I can say. Leave a comment in the comment section below. This is a hoser card. It's $2.79. It's pretty cheap. It's from Visions. And it looks like a little bit of fun. So we're buying it. Bring us to the next card on our list. Coming in at the bottom of the list, the reserve list, Kukemsa Pirates. For $4.27 or €3, 34 euro cent. You can get a copy of these Kukemsa Pirates, the artifact stealing 2/2 from Mirage, that says, for 1 blue and 3, if Kukemsa Pirates attacks and is not blocked, you may choose to have it deal no damage to defending player this turn. If you do, gain control of target artifact that player controls. Well, in a 4-player game, this is going to get you something, a soul ring or any of the other overpowered artifact goodies that'll be on the board in a commander game. And it's way down at the bottom of the reserve list where no one cares about Kukemsa Pirates. But we do, so we're buying it. And it brings us to the number 9 card on our list. Before we get into this card, I gotta have a little sip of coffee. Which brings us to the next card on our list. The number 9 card is this guy, Mountain Titan. Let's look at the art on this for a second. If this doesn't look like a card that's going to be in Brody Alfonso's bottom 10 reserve list cards that no one cares about, I don't know what is. Look at the epic beard on this guy. The Mountain Titan from Ice Age. He costs $1.28 to get him into your collection, or €1, 23 euro cent. He's a 2/2 Titan for 1 red, 1 black, and 2. Pay 2 red and 1 for the rest of the turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on Mountain Titan whenever you successfully cast a black spell. So he's got an epic beard that just gets bigger and bigger each time you cast a black spell when you activate this ability. He's got an awesome beard. It's a meme card. It looks like a lot of fun. And it belongs in Brody Alfonso's bottom 10 reserve list card that no one cares about. So we're buying it. And this brings us to the number 1 card on our list this week. Folks, I'm really excited to talk about this card because we get to talk about so many amazing mechanics on Varchild's War Riders. For $6.54 or €5, 25 euro cent, you can get a copy of the War Riders in your collection. Let's look at this. It's a 3/4, meaning it does not die to Lightning Bolt. It costs 1 red and 1, and it's got Trample and Rampage 1. Which means each creature beyond the first that's assigned to block it gives the War Riders +1/+1 until end of turn. So it's cheap mana cost, and it's got a good power and toughness. Trample and Rampage on it, it's got to have a downside. Well, the downside is cumulative upkeep. Put a Survivor token into play, target opponent's control. Treat this token as a 1/1 red creature. So as a downside, we have to give target opponent a 1/1 red creature each turn, and then 1 more after that each and every turn that goes by. Well, that doesn't seem like too much of a downside. How can we make this work for us? I mean, we could put a copy of Allure on it. That might be okay, but we could do better than that. What about using it with a copy of this card? Stronghold of Discipline. Each player loses 1 life for each creature he or she controls. You could flood your opponent's board with creatures and then make them pay life for them. But I think we could do better than that, Varchild's War Riders. What about this card? Defense of the Heart. A green enchantment for 1 green and 3 that says during your upkeep, if one of your opponent controls 3 or more creatures, sacrifice Defense of the Heart. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards and put them directly into play. Shuffle your library afterwards. I mean, you know your opponent's going to get to at least 3 creatures with the Varchild War Riders on the battlefield, and Defense of the Heart's going to go and get you something a lot better than a couple of 1/1s. But I think we can even do better than that, Varchild's War Riders. What about a copy of Goblin Sharpshooter? We throw that in a deck with Dingus Staff. Whenever a creature is put into the graveyard from play, Dingus Staff deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. Sharpshooter, just tap it, kill a creature, and untap it again. Or maybe a copy of the Plague Engineer, naming survivor tokens. This Varchild's War Riders has game-winning mechanics written all over it. But can we even do better than that, Varchild's War Riders? Take a look at this card, Tainted Ether, a black enchantment for 2 black and 2. Whenever a creature comes into play, its controller sacrifices a creature or a land. So you play this with the War Riders and your opponents get those survivor tokens. Next thing you know, they're going to start sacrificing either those tokens or the lands, or after a while they're not going to have very much left on the battlefield. There are so many cards that work well and interact with Varchild's War Riders, and for the $6.50 that it'll cost you, it looks like a whole lot of fun that we want to put into our collection. So Varchild's War Riders, we appreciate you, and you're coming in at the number 1 spot on our list, Brody Alfonso's list of the bottom 10 reserve list cards that no one cares about. I'd like to take a minute to thank each and every one of you amazing 77 subscribers for coming back each and every time and smashing that like and subscribe button. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below and we can continue to bring you folks more amazing videos. Once again, this is your host Brody at AlphonsoInvestments. This is the bottom 10 reserve list cards that no one cares about that we're buying. And a special shout out to all the Freetrons for watching. Those of you tuning in around the world, appreciate you guys for checking out the channel. Have a smooth and enjoyable weekend. This is your host Brody, and we'll talk to you guys again real soon.